When I tell y'all I will not be outside for 2025, it's not just because I'm ducking the imminent collapse of society here in the United States, but mainly because there's so many game releases packed into this year, I'm going to be working quadruple overtime. So before we descend into the buffoonery and shenanigans of this year, let's have a look at the 10 big upcoming game releases for just the first quarter of 2025. For the record, I'm not including remasters or ports on this list, and there are a boatload of those, especially in January. I've noticed that Q1 more often than not has become a graveyard for remasters, ports, remakes, and so forth. But anyway, we're sticking to specifically new games on this list. Starting with Dynasty Warriors Origins. After surprising us with Wild Hearts in 2023, Omega Force is back with their OG franchise. We haven't had a mainline entry in the Dynasty Warriors franchise since 2018, so the excitement around this game from fans of the series is certainly valid. But I'm very intrigued to witness the new gamers who picked up the hobby post-COVID getting introduced to this gnarly gameplay style of fighting swarms of enemies and managing an on-foot war. Omega Force says they're aiming to put 10,000 soldiers on the screen at once, fully utilizing this gen's hardware. It sounds both technically marvelous and overstimulating at the same time. Dynasty Warriors Origins drops on January 17th, just a short couple of weeks from the posting of this video. Next, we're moving into the month of February, where a bulk of the games on this list will come from. I cannot overstate how congested this month will be, and it ends with one of the most anticipated games of this year. Sorry in advance to all the non-gamer partners who will receive no attention on Valentine's Day. So next we have Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, a follow-up to what I'd consider a cult classic. The first game maybe wasn't a smash hit, but anyone who gave it a chance knows it was different. In a good way. A gritty medieval story and atmosphere, unique sword fighting mechanics, a respectfully deep RPG system. It had an unapologeticness to it that reminded me a little bit of the Witcher series. With the sequel, they're aiming to bring all that good stuff I mentioned back, but also clean up some of the rough areas of the first game. They want to make it more accessible for a broader range of gamers and leave a bigger imprint. I do think this one has potential to catch on, but we'll find out for sure when it drops on current gen consoles and PC February 4th. Just a few short days after that, Civilization 7 is due to drop, and it only makes sense this game releases during Black History Month. They're giving us Harriet Tubman. You already know who's angry about this, but come on, y'all. This is Firaxis. We know this is their bread and butter. They are hallmark when it comes to turn-based strategy games, and apparently they've tweaked the score system this time around to benefit more diverse styles of gameplay. Whereas in Civ 6, you typically score the most if you focus on city building. It's good to see tech and culture get some love. All the previews I've read say Civ 7 is a lot more balanced. This could also be an interesting game to play in what is shaping up to be a historical year in our own civilization. This one releases February 11th. Oh look, another game conveniently dropping during Black History Month. Another game that got hoes mad. But here in the real world, Assassin's Creed Shadows is a Paramount game release for Ubisoft, who are currently in desperation mode. Shadows will put players in the shoes of two characters with completely different playstyles. You have Nyawe, a woman shinobi who will play more like a ninja archetype of vintage Assassin's Creed protagonist, and there's Yasuke, a historical Japanese figure who's mostly depicted as the first black samurai. He plays more like a newer Assassin's Creed protagonist and is more hack and slash oriented. The story seems interesting, and the combat could have potential, though I wouldn't go into this expecting Ghost of Tsushima levels of swordplay because Sucker Punch is different. This game will definitely be mixing a lot of arguments and banter when it drops on February the 14th. Next, we have an Xbox exclusive we've been waiting a while for. Avowed is a first-person spin-off from the top-down isometric fantasy series Pillars of Eternity. I think of this as Obsidian's Elder Scrolls, and they're even switching things up from Pillars and opting for a more Skyrim-like skill tree instead of specific classes. And since the combat has been much improved since the early demos they showed us, this has all the makings of a winner. If Avowed is able to exude anywhere near the confidence level that the Outer Worlds has, we're in for quite a treat when this hits Game Pass on February 18th. Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, another addition to this always wacky but inspiring game franchise. It's a pirate game with Japanese street gangs. And I'm not gonna hold y'all, this looks dope. Remember when Assassin's Creed Black Flag dropped and everyone was like, yo, Ubisoft, make a pirate game with that naval combat, the hand-to-hand combat, the diving bells, all that, and you got a winner, only for them to reciprocate that energy with Skull and Bones. Lucky for us, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii looks like that game we asked for, at least in some aspects, and regardless, is a pivot away from the turn-based gameplay of Infinite Wealth and a return back to beat-em-up land. This game drops on February 21st. On the last day of February, the best game of the month and possibly the year is slated. Monster Hunter Wilds will release globally for the first time simultaneously on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC. If you follow me on any of my gaming accounts, you've heard no end to my rants about how epic this game will be. But what's great about this entry is it'll be the most accessible Monster Hunter game with some easier options for first-time hunters and the most socially connected Monster Hunter game with its cross-play compatibility between all platforms. If you want to learn more about this game, check out my playlist on it. But yeah, Monster Hunter has bar none the best game community out there. Super excited to get back in the trenches with my fellow hunters. And with that, we move into March, which will first deliver us the next game from the award-winning Hazelight Studios. It's called Split Fiction. Just like the previous games, A Way Out and It Takes Two, it's a co-op game made for 2 players and requires a copious amount of communication and coordination. You're basically torn between 2 dimensions and you'll have to adventure through an alternating reality that shifts between fantasy and sci-fi. It's very interesting. I thought It Takes Two was incredible. One of those games I could just sit back and enjoy with the wife. We'll have another one we can go through when this releases on March 6th. If you're in the market for a good survival action game a la Stalker 2, you might want to keep an eye out for Atomfall. It takes place in a nuclear devastated 1960s England and will have players crafting, looting, trading, and scrapping with all types of enemies in a quest to solve the mysteries of the radioactive quarantine zone. Graphically, it looks impressive and I love the premise. It's like another game providing a stark look at a reality that could possibly hit close to home if mankind doesn't get its act together. You can play this on March 27th. Before I give you the last game, just wanted to drop a quick honorable mention in here, the first Berserker Kazan. Even with Nexon advertising and bigging up this game for the last year, it still feels like nobody's looking forward to it, and I think that's a shame. There's potential for it to be a pretty solid experience. It drops March 27th also, so just wanted to give this a nod since I do like what they're doing with the art direction. But last and certainly not least is a game I believe will low-key be a smash hit and steal a lot of players away from The Sims. It's called Enzoy. It's pretty much the same concept as The Sims. You make a character, build a household, live out the life of the character, and so forth. But they're definitely utilizing Unreal Engine 5 with this game, which is why it's so pretty. It has easily the most in-depth character creator I've ever seen. It's insane. And yeah, this is definitely going to give Sims a run for its money and turn some heads. Enzoy goes into early access on PC on March 28th. And there it is, the 10 biggest games coming out in Q1 of 2025. If you stuck around to the end of this video, I appreciate you. Let me know in the comments if any of the games I mentioned have you uncontrollably hyped, or if there's any games that I left off that you're looking forward to. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go back to building my Faraday cage and figuring out how to withstand EMP pulses. Catch you later.